Good afternoon, everybody who is watching this online event that we have organized as Impact Leaders International and Polarization and Build Peace on International Peace Day 2022. And someone said, why should it be just one day in a year? Shouldn't we celebrate peace every day? And I think this is a very, very valid remark. So let us make that happen. This is the theme also of, or you could say the mission we have as community of impact leaders and peace builders. We take this opportunity on this very special occasion to highlight the examples of peace builders and impact leaders of our community. We have chosen a few examples of people that are doing groundbreaking work, I would say, in different parts of the world to, in actual fact, build peace from the grassroots. So we are very happy that, that they are joining us and that they will be sharing their experiences with us. I will show you the program now that we have developed for today. So I will start with an opening presentation, Building Peace in a Polarizing World, which is also the theme of the International Peace Day. It's End Racism and Build Peace, but we decided to enlarge the scope and speak about polarization instead of only racism. Then Harv Kuja, he will share with us some poetry on peace. He's also part of our team. There will be some examples of our international network, then an exercise and a discussion, and at 14:30, I will wrap up with some final words. But you definitely will also have the opportunity to share your questions and also participate in the discussion. Thank you, Pim. I will start with my presentation then. In order to do that, I'm going to share my screen. It's a difficult topic to speak about in a different way than you could say the dominant narrative in society at the moment, where Europe is yet again faced with a war in Ukraine this time, and this is just adding to the many conflicts that there are in many places in the world, and which have been going on for decades sometimes. I just mentioned a few, like in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Sudan, in Venezuela. And so this is apparently the pattern that we have developed across the history of humankind, to use war as a means to solve problems. And we want to challenge that narrative, and we want to challenge that paradigm. And this is what my presentation is about. So what is the cost of war? And that's a very important question to ask. And I have a quote here. War is profitable deception. It always has been. It is probably the oldest, most profitable, and certainly the most cruel form of deception. It is the only one of its kind on an international scale, and it is the only one in which the profits are calculated in money and the losses in human lives. And this was said by an American former general, as Butler, in 1935. And now we're in 2022, and yet again confronted with a war. So let's look more closely at the cost of war, but that's not what I want to concentrate on, because I want to concentrate on what can we create as an alternative to war. Well, if you look at the cost of war, you can see that humanitarian work has become politicized and militarized. And the average economic cost of violence in the 10 most affected countries in the world, and I mentioned a few of them before this, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, Korea, is equivalent to 41% of their gross domestic product. The calculation and the estimation is that the global economic impact of violence is on average $14.4 trillion a year. This is a mind-blowing figure. And these are very recent figures of 2021. So and what is this cost when you try to give words to them, not only numbers? It's the incredible, immeasurable suffering of people. It's interpersonal violence. It's social unrest. It's collective violence. It's the complete destabilization of institutions and systems, and the reduced confidence in business. And you could say that war only disrupts because it creates chaos. And this is why it's so urgent and necessary to think of an alternative way to approach this and end this. So the question is violence justifiable? Because we've come to learn that it is. We teach our children at school that violence is a justifiable way to end the dispute. This is where it starts. So it becomes imprinted in our mind and imprinted in our behavior that somehow we can use violence to solve problems. I show you here the cycle of violence to just make you understand how this works. So it starts with some kind of atrocity, which we feel, which is basically a conflict. And we have to be aware that conflicts always arise between people. It's always people that are at the source of any conflict. Whether it's groups of people or individual people, it always starts with people. You have some shock terror, fear, pain, grief, anger, then bitterness, and then revenge, retaliation, and this leads to another atrocity. So you see that in a sense, it's a cycle which perpetuates itself because of the way it functions. So the alternative is that we have to intervene at the point that we feel anger. And again, to make it more personal and not very abstract, because when we talk about wars in faraway countries, we feel that we are somehow not connected to them. This is something beyond our control or beyond our circle of influence. But let's make it very personal. And let's look at, for instance, a conflict between two people, which can really also lead to violence, domestic violence, or gender violence, or violence between gangs. It's at the point of anger that we feel somehow that it's justifiable to use violence to solve this. Well, this is where we seek revenge, we seek retaliation. So we have to nip this anger in the bud, and we have to solve it in a different way. Just some clues to stop wars and conflicts. It's important to be aware that according to Skilla Elworthy, she's a very important advocate for peace. And she has written a book, A Business Plan for Peace. And she says humiliation is a key driver of violence, any kind of humiliation. And humiliation is something which is, again, very personal. It affects us, it affects people. And the strongest antidote to this humiliation is respect. And also awareness and wisdom can change the course of events. So let's follow up on this idea of understanding that it all starts with humiliation. And then instead of following this cycle of violence where we seek revenge and we feel that it's justifiable to do so, let's see how we can use wisdom and awareness to solve it in a different way and to break this cycle of violence. It all starts with us. This is our message as Impact Leaders International, and it all starts with us because war involves people. Conflicts involve people. It's not the institutions that started, it's people that started. And it has become institutionalized. But if it starts with people, then people are also the key to break this cycle of violence. And you see here a model that we developed, and it revolves around some values, and it goes through different stages. And very quickly, I will take you through them, of the lessons or insight it gives us to break this cycle of violence. And instead of accepting war and somehow also becoming accomplice to war, we can become all peace builders. And in doing so, we are making an impact and showing leadership. So it starts by growing the roots of peace in your own tree of life. We compare people to trees. And we ask them to draw their tree of life. And a tree has roots, and the roots are your norms and values. And in our norms and values, somehow we've learned that war is justifiable. So let's, instead of that, grow the roots of peace in our tree of life and only believe in peace and forget about war as a means to solve anything. And as I said, it's all about norms and values. So let's nourish the values and norms that ignite peace, not war. And what are these values? It is about trust. It's about empathy. It's about integrity. It's about respect. So when you feel humiliated, when you feel anger, when you feel that somehow you can justify that you use violence, whether it's physical or whether it's psychological, go back to your roots and go back to your values and try to act with empathy. Try to act with integrity and also respect, which is very difficult if you are in a conflict and are standing opposite to somebody else. But this is the challenge that we are facing. And then make it happen. Dream about peace and make your dream come true. Yes, dream it, not imagine it, dream it. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. And once you have this dream about a world in peace, build your team of peace builders. Create a community around yourself of people who share your dream and work on designing ideas to create an infrastructure of peace. We have come to rely too much on institutions and a very top-down approach to solve peace. I dare say that it's time that we take control, we take charge of our lives and also of the direction and the course of events. We are not merely victims, we are not merely pawns on a chessboard. We are agents of change. We can do that. So build your team of peace builders and start designing ideas for peace. Again, because it all starts with us. And think about, what does the world need to create peace? And you can start small, because it all starts small. Because it all starts with a conflict, which somehow erupts and then grows and then becomes an international war game. So think about, what does the world need to create peace at individual, at community, at regional, national, and international level. And start from there, one step at a time, because it does make a difference. Any act towards creating peace has an exponential effect that you cannot imagine. And then deliver, implement, and follow up. You make a promise to yourself. As a peace builder, you make a promise to yourself to contribute to peace, to fuel the fuel. It should be the fuel of your daily actions. And we are confronted daily with all kinds of things that somehow we are not always aware of, or we somehow miss. But if we make this the fuel of our daily actions to somehow, with also small acts, contribute to peace, we are making a difference. And what's more important, we are really building a strong, solid foundation for peace at community and regional and international level. And then you also become a role model to people within your community. So they will start believing in it, because this is the power of attraction. You become a magnet. People will see what the effect is, the impact of your behavior, of your daily acts of peace, and they will want to follow up. So, to finalize my presentation, it is obvious that peace is a joint effort. We have to do it together. We have to join hands. And let's be honest, we far outnumber the people that are justifying war. We outnumber them by billions. Yet we are accepting that a minority always, I would say, bribes us into believing that war is necessary or the best solution. So somehow institutions have failed us, and politicians have failed us. And it is time to rise above ourselves and take charge, because we can do this. And also take charge of our future, and more importantly, of the future of next generations. Because peace is the only viable way to a better world. So let us create an economy of peace and disarm the economy of war that we have created and which has caused so much suffering in the world. Thank you. Having said that, there will be time later in the discussion for questions or comments, but I really would like to give the floor to my colleague Harv, who will take another angle, and a very important angle, at how we could approach this. Harv, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Saskia. Good afternoon again, everyone. Actually, I'm really always happy and glad to talk about this topic, because not only because it's my specialization, but I really believe in the role and the importance of the literature in general and poetry in specific in building peace in societies. Now, Saskia created a question about the cause of the war. We all know that the war is a destructive action, and that it does distract the societies and the infrastructure. And we know how does it do so. The question is now, who is going then to rebuild and to construct after the destruction? Many people will say the economy, the money, and the infrastructure, and the politics. In fact, that's right, but partially it is right, because the politics is the organizing phase, actually, of everything in the society. The economy provides the society with what does it need, and the infrastructure is to, let's say, to organize our movements as a human being, where to live and how to transfer. Then the real question is, who is going to build the humans after the war? This is the important question. And that's why actually it's a you know, very broad topic. We could talk about it for weeks, but because I have just a few minutes, I'll just mention a few things, and I will share my screen with you. Let me first share the screen. Yes, here we go. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I need my glasses. So, it's commonly recognized that poetry is a prominent form of intangible culture, transmitting the cultures of certain communities to others. The word heritage has come to hold an idiomatic connotation related to a people's combined legacy, which includes cultural, urban, social, and folkloric memory. Therefore, the notion of heritage expands to encompass communities' culture in its intellectual infrastructure and various branches. It forms the primary pillar in a community's identity, distinction, and independent identity. There is no need here to segregate traditional and popular cultures on a elitist basis. So the intercultural standards for examining a community's heritage, must reconcile past and future histories. It registers the constant movement of the development of knowledge systems at the classical and popular levels, their ebb and flow, motion and stillness, progression and regression. These standards apply to all human societies. The accumulation of these elite and popular knowledge systems form cultural heritage. Successive generations are tasked with producing new forms of knowledge, linking them to inherited cultural legacies while continuously developing them. So that was about heritage in general, which includes, of course, poetry. Now, what about poetry, and why am I talking about this specifically right now? Because if you can see those books, I'll talk about them briefly, and then in particular about one of them, which is more connected to the piece and our topic today. For me, actually, having authored a massive work in the field of cultural heritage in 5 volumes, more than 3,500 pages, which actually just had been published recently by a Dutch leading scholarly publishing house worldwide, which is Brill. Actually, the age of this publishing house is more than 3 centuries. It's almost full, maybe. So I realized the importance, of course, of this topic. And here are the covers of my books. I'll talk about them more in the next slide. So the first one, you can see the title, Aleppo in Classical Poetry. I come from Aleppo. Maybe I didn't introduce myself at the beginning because I want to start now. Introduce myself very briefly, just in a few seconds. My name is Harf Kudja. I'm living now, I live in the Netherlands. I hold my nationality, and my future will be here in this country, and my present, of course. I came from Aleppo, the oldest city, which is still inhabited in the world. We're talking about more than 12,000 years. So this is one of my elements of my legacy, of course. And that's why I've done this work. The first volume, Aleppo in Classical Poetry, from the 7th to the early 20th century. And you can see the number of poets and poems, 500 poets and 937 poems. The second, in contemporary poetry, from the early 20th century to the early 21st century, we have here 530 poems. And the third, you can see that it has the highest number of poets and poems and even pages. And it is Aleppo in the elegiac poetry only in 10 years. We're talking about 10 years only, from 2011 till 2020. And I would like to reflect actually the importance of this volume, particularly to our context today. Of course, we have a fourth volume, indices and indexes, and we have also a separate book which contains the writings of historians, travelers, and authors. So it's the non-poetic texts. It wasn't surprising to me, actually, to find so many international poems laminating Aleppo. It goes without saying that poets from across the world interact with major issues that concern humanity as a whole. So what else could be expected when it comes to Aleppo, the oldest inhabited city in the history of human civilization? And because the search of these poems seemed endless, I mean the international, the word poetry, not the Arabic one, because the total is 812 poems. So the international texts I've chosen, poems, they were actually, really, they seemed endless. So I stopped at 265 poems written by 244 poets from 51 different countries across 5 continents. I will just skip some slides. That was an introduction in the book. Contains some famous poets who written previously about the cities and the war effects on the cities. That was mainly during the World War II. You know, you can see those names actually. Some of them are really very famous, like Pablo Neruda and Federico García Lorca. Now, in my book, what I did actually, after listing all those poems, I've chosen something which I believe is really important. Look at this. The topics included in the book's poems were classified as follows. What do I mean? What am I trying to classify here? I was analyzing the content of the topics, of the poems. Let's see here. First, description of Aleppo and its, sorry, I just have to remove something because it blocks my view. Okay. So I will not actually dive here because then it will divert us away from our topic. Look at number 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are actually the sub, let's say, topics that the poets mentioned in their poems. And what I want to really to focus on is the third and not the fourth. Why? Because 1, 2, or first, second, 4, they speak in general actually about the city. But in the third section, I'm talking about the description of the war and its aftermath. Now, you can of course imagine Aleppo, and at the same time just imagine any other place on the world, any other city or even a village on this earth. What could poetry write about that? Describing the destruction of the city, and that was really painful to me. Just imagine that it's my own home city. And I was writing about that, and I was collecting what has been written about that. It was one of the most difficult and painful tasks I've done in my life. Then describing the Aleppians during the war, whether they are originally from Aleppo or the inhabitants of the city, regardless how long do they live there. And then expressing sadness and helplessness. Look at this. Poets, they feel helpless, and that's, of course, that's right. We all know that. How could you then confront those weapons and those armies? We have another rule later on. Then blaming culprits and laggards. That's very important, actually. about what Saskia just mentioned somehow in her presentation. Then praising Aleppo's patience and steadfastness, and then optimism and good tidings. This is very important, and then wishings and praying. I have one example I want to show you here. It's for an Indian poet. His name is Rajan. I hope that I'm pronouncing this name right. If not, please correct me after I finish. It was written in January 2017. Let's see this text, and that will be the end of my presentation. We will discuss later on what do we see from those, actually, especially the third section, in such a small text. The poet says, of course, the name you can see, Stars of Aleppo. We see you, the stars galore, on earth today, as in the night sky. You bleed and some alive no more, the memory of a smile to be remembered by. You cried and sent us scroll after scroll. Your voices echoed through festive days. We chose to not see or hear the call and carried on with our happy ways. It's too late now, the harm is done. Your lights have dimmed and faded away. You've lost the chance to come together as one, lost to the wish of yet another day. But we can see now it has dawned, though slow. These tears, a prayer, may all be in vain, but know this much, O stars of Aleppo, your lights, though past, your energies remain. Your voices now sound like from ages ago, and we look upon ourselves with disdain. But know this much, O stars of Aleppo, your light though past, your energies remain. You shall pass through our lives, time and again. And the moment in history when mankind fell, when we let our own kind suffer again, and forever shall remain the power of this spell. It is emotional, but I'm used to it after 12 years of working on this book. And for now, I'll stop sharing the screen. And I will ask you just for, if you have very short now interaction or question or comment. If you still have more, that you're more than welcome, but after the end of that presentation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the beautiful poem, because it's directly touching your heart. So I'm a bit emotional hearing your poem. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Harv. It was indeed beautiful.
Thank you.
In the next part of this event, we're going to look at some examples from our network. And Hafsa was just able to rejoin. Hi, Hafsa. Are you with us? Can you hear us? Is she gone again?
No, I can see her on the screen, but I'm not sure.
Hafsa? Because she lost her connection and reconnected, and now it's gone again. Okay, we'll go first to see if she can reconnect. We'll first go to a pre-recorded message from Peru.
Oh, she says, please let me in again.
No, she's not asking to. So
okay. Okay.
then she can go after.
Buenos días, hasta
Save.
Because we can see her on the screen, but somehow she's not. Yeah, she saw my message. Okay, let's start with
So this is from Peru, from Cynthia.
yes, and
She
I will
recorded because it's
I
now
will-
like 6
I will
o'clock in the morning.
translate. Yeah, I will translate it after we finished with her video.
cada uno de ustedes. Gracias, felicitación y muchas felicitaciones por la iniciativa que vienen impulsando en el marco del Día Internacional de la Paz. Quien les saluda, Cintia Palomino Vileto, psicóloga, directora de la ONG ACPAS del Perú. América Latina pues, es una región diversa, aquejada y afectada por diferentes factores de riesgo sociales y ambientales, pero además está integrada por maravillosos jóvenes, quienes en su gran mayoría están dispuestos y dispuestas a involucrarse para generar transformaciones en su entorno, no solo social, sino económico, ambiental, político, cultural, diferentes espacios sociales en el que el ser humano se desenvuelve. La energía y las ganas de vivir de las y los jóvenes son de vital importancia para afrontar y superar diferentes situaciones de violencia, inequidad y discriminación en diversos tipos, y así mejorar la calidad de vida de las personas y su comunidad. Pues por eso es importante generar espacios y posibilidades que les permitan desarrollar sus habilidades y potencialidades y su construcción efectiva como ciudadanos integrales. Trabajar desde un enfoque preventivo, donde se busque desarrollar procesos participativos para la construcción de alternativas que promuevan la resolución pacífica de conflictos.
You can see your screen. Can you please?
Posibilitará que las y los jóvenes se involucren en actos y hechos de violencia, facilitando que se conviertan en sujetos activos, capaces de buscar soluciones a sus conflictos, aportando a la construcción de procesos de paz y esperanza en su país. Pues desde la ONG ACPAS, Asociación en la Prevención de los Fenómenos Adversos Sociales del Perú, en el 2020 se creó el Programa Internacional Jóvenes Constructores de Paz y Esperanza. Impulsamos el Colegio Juvenil Semanal, un espacio abierto, dirigido e integrado por jóvenes. La iniciativa busca promover la participación juvenil, la toma de conciencia e impulsar acciones que permitan alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, la Agenda 2030. Este espacio de involucramiento y de participación de las y los jóvenes en temas de interés global nos permite construir relaciones de convivencia democrática y de respeto y derechos humanos, ya que no solo se nutren por sistemas normativos y políticos, es el resultado de una cotidianidad comunitaria que nos lleva pues, a relacionarnos unos a los otros. Y debe ser basado pues, en el respeto, en la empatía, en la pluralidad y en la solidaridad, como formas inherentes y constitutivas del ser humano. La Declaración Universal de Derechos Humanos dice que todos los seres humanos nacen libres, con igualdad de derechos a una vida digna y libre de discriminación y de trato de migrantes. Desafortunadamente, a lo largo de la historia, han ocurrido demasiados crímenes provocados justamente por el odio y la discriminación. Pero esta no debe de ser nuestro modelo de vida. Por el contrario, en la actualidad existen muchas organizaciones y muchas personas que luchan contra el racismo y la discriminación. Una de ellas es nuestra organización ACPAS Perú. Te invitamos a que te unas y juntos edificaremos un mundo mejor, inclusivo, con igualdad de oportunidades para todos y todas. Trabajemos desde los centros educativos en la construcción de la paz y la esperanza, ya que es fundamental. Ello nos permite el mejoramiento de las dinámicas de convivencia en vuestros hogares y tiene un impacto directo en la comunidad. No obstante, es necesario una mayor intervención con las familias e involucramiento de las autoridades, ya que contar con una buena infraestructura nunca va a ser suficiente. Si no trabajamos permanentemente con las personas y las involucramos, serán siempre parte del problema y no de la solución. Les envío un abrazo inmenso, fuerte a la distancia y hasta una nueva oportunidad.
Yes. I will translate. If you can unshare, please. Yes. I will translate briefly her such important words. She's Cynthia Palomino Buleje. She's the CEO and founder of an NGO in Peru, APFAS Peru, which is doing a lot of community work within in the country, but she's also uniting a lot of international collaborations. She initiated this program in 2020 because she was one of our first participants from the Latin American continent, youth as constructors of peace and hope. Because she says, also as I was emphasizing, it all starts with youth. It's very important to involve them in also this peace building process. And she says that it's very important to create also spaces for them to speak about the importance of peace, because they have also been raised so much in the belief of violence and war as a means to solve things. And so they come, so it's just to also emphasize it's not always an easy task, because they comes often from, you could say, marginalized communities where it's the things like hatred and racism are very common, are very normal, are seen as normal. And to break with that habit and to also break with that the behavior that comes from hatred and racism, and develop other norms and values built on solidarity, on plurality, and also on peace. It's a challenge that they have taken upon themselves, and it's a wonderful project that she's running till this day. And we are very happy that our book, Become a Peace Builder and Impact Leader, which contains our training, has been translated in Spanish and soon will be launched, which means that we will also be able to reach the whole Spanish-speaking world with our program. So from a distance, thank you, Cynthia. Pim.
Yeah, great. Hafsa, are you ready for your presentation? You're muted now, so I hope you're okay. Can you unmute? She was just here, so...
Hafsa, can you unmute?
Hafsa? Okay.
We just give 1 second.
Adam, are you ready?
I sent her a message. Let's see if she saw it.
Adam, are you ready? Okay, unmute and then you can share your presentation yourself.
Hello.
Ah, there's Hafsa. Maybe Hafsa can, since she's now in instead of,
Yes.
because connection in Kashmir is a challenge.
Exactly. I am simultaneously signing in from 2 devices.
But you're twice, Hafsa. You have to close one of them because you're twice.
Okay. Okay. Yes. I wish I shall leave this meeting. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Hafsa, because, yeah.
Is it my time of presentation, Saskia? My presentation is with you. Can you share it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me see where I...
So, hello, everyone.
Oh, wait.
Ik heb hem al klaarstaan, hè?
Oh, je had hem al klaarstaan. Oké. If you can share, Pim.
Ja, komt eraan.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Hafsa.
Hello, everyone. I am Hafsa Masoodi from Pakistani administered Kashmir, which is now called as Azad Jammu and Kashmir. And I'm more interested in peace building activities because of my background. I am coming from the area which is part of active conflict zone. So peace building at any level is kind of thing which is very close to my heart, and I'm very much passionate about that. But of course, the struggle varies according to the opportunity we get. So I am presenting an idea in the situation we face in Kashmir. So, Pims, can you show next slide, please? Or if I can move the slide, I don't know how to. Okay. So I belong to Azad Jammu and Kashmir, as I've mentioned earlier. And this is part of Pakistani administered Kashmir. This is not whole Pakistani administered Kashmir, because a bigger part of Pakistani administered Kashmir is Gilgit-Baltistan, and that is not connected very closely to this part of our part of Kashmir. So this is naturally the unfinished agenda of partition, and the dispute we have is a 75 years long dispute. Next slide, please. Okay, so what happened 75 years before? What went wrong when we got disputed for centuries to come? Kashmir was the part of British India, which was, of course, colonized by the then British. And Kashmir was basically the most autonomous of the states. British India would exercise only powers in 3 subjects, like foreign affairs, defense, and currency kind of things. The rest, it exercised maximum internal autonomy. But when the partition came and the world started decolonizing and India got independence, there was a partition plan for British India, which divided British India into Pakistan and India. So this partition plan decided, not decided, they suggested for the princely state that they should join either of new dominion on the basis of their geographical proximity and communal interest. And the geographical proximity and the communal interest both favored Pakistan because 90% of the population were Muslim, and also the geography was contagious to Pakistan. But the ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, wanted to stay independent, and he actually tried to buy some time to announce his decision. And during that time, some people from Poonch, and Poonch is a district in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Poonch and Mirpur, they started revolt against Maharaja because they considered that Maharaja's rule is very complex. So they were joined by some people, guerrilla fighters from KPK, which is now KPK, it's part of Pakistan. And they actually started vacating the land of erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, and they liberated what is now called as Azad Kashmir. I think I'm not getting too much long, but anyways, the Maharaja who was forced by this revolt or rebellion, he asked for military help from India, and India denied it any military help unless and until the state decides to accede to India. So the Maharaja signed an instrument of accession, and Kashmir divided forever. Military of India landed in Kashmir, and they pushed back the guerrilla fighters, and they drew a line of control between two parts of Kashmir. One is Indian administered Kashmir now, and the other is Pakistan administered Kashmir. So I belong to the Pakistan administered Kashmir. Next slide, Pim. This Azad Pakistan administered Kashmir, whose official name is Azad Jammu and Kashmir, is 5% of total territory of erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. And 80% of its territory is located on the line of military occupation, that is called line of control. And the cross-border firing, both from India and Pakistan, is kind of routine. I spent my childhood in that firing. And Pakistan actually exercises de facto control on this area. But, you know, as the South Asian society, the corruption and malpractices and bad governance has plagued all the system of this area. And one thing that is interesting, that every misery people face, they relate it with the with the larger dispute of Jammu and Kashmir. Like if they are not getting job, they will say, okay, well, since we are disputed territory and we are occupied, that is why we are not getting the job. Okay, so the population of Azad Jammu and Kashmir is 4 million, and 52% of the population is women. And female literacy rate is higher than 80%. Next slide, Pim. So these female are, of course, outnumbered the men in the society, but fortunately, they are educated, because education is the most, emphasis thing in our society. People get education no matter whatever difficulty they face. But unemployment is very high, because in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, we have absolutely no industrial infrastructure, and not any other non-governmental organization or IGO or anything working here. So we have only opportunity to work is the government department, and government department can accommodate how many people. So these women face several issues, like social issues, they have financial issues, they have psychological and health issues, and the list goes on. Next slide, Pim. So I think being marginalized group in South Asian society, women are always neglected. They hardly have any access to power corridors, and they have absolutely no say in decision making. I am saying this absolutely no say in decision making because there are some women in legislative assembly, but they are backbenchers of the politics. They are parachute lenders. They don't fight a direct election. They don't contest election. They just come by the nomination, and the political parties which is winning nominates their own puppets to sit in the assembly as representative of women. And what will they represent? They don't know even the grassroots level problems of the women. So the women suffer. They keep suffering. But fortunately, again, they have some positive points, like they are educated, and some of them are very much skilled. They have very good skills, like making handicrafts, making small things at their home. Next slide, Pim. So my idea for having a peace building initiative, or starting from grassroots level, is having a ladies platform, which I will call as a ladies park. It's not actually the park. It will be a platform for the female only, which will provide them help in different issues. Like if I discuss how we can support them economically, as I mentioned earlier, the female population is educated and they have skills. They can make handicrafts. They can make small things at their home. So we can train them in finishing and packaging of the goods, and having access for these goods to national and international market, because they make the things and they use it at their home, and this generate no economic activity. So we can, work as a link between the producer and the consumer and the ultimate customer. Also, training in small loans for their own startups is very important. It's some people say that it's my kind of utopian dream. I cannot do it, but I am having this idea for a long time, and I am kind of pursuing it. I haven't given up on it, no matter what. So socially, another thing which I forgot to mention, that due to all these things, this joblessness and this dearth of everything, inflation and cross-border firing and everything, the ladies, the female in our society has become the what we call it, psychic. They have become psychological patients. What will you call it? Actually, they have psychological problems, right? So this ladies park, or this platform, will provide them a platform where they can share their ideas, where they can care about one another. They can have links between them to support each other morally. Not only that, but they can also have link to the other ladies in the world who are progressing and in their lives, and how they are making progress. So this will basically provide a network facility for them. And I think that counseling and this psychological health care and therapies, this is very important, because the depression is increasing, the suicide incidents are increasing, and also the divorce rate is increasing, which is ultimately having more impact on the mental health of the women, because the divorce is typically considered as some fault in a female in South Asian society. Next pin. Also, this environmental thing. See, Pakistan is one of the most affected, top 10 most affected countries from the climate change. We experience cloudburst and natural disasters like 2 or 3 times a year. Like last time we had severe cloudburst in Neelam Valley, which is my area. And this time we have severe flood, which is affecting Pakistan. You all know that. And so my idea is that since the population of female is more than 52%, and the climate change can be prevented taking very small initiative, like stopping cutting the tree for domestic purposes, instead of that using some other fuel means. So for me, to my understanding, it is very important that we train our women about how they can play their role in preventing this climate change. And if some natural disaster occur, how can they mitigate the effects of this natural disaster? So I think that people have several peace building initiatives, but the economical one is very important, because the economy, when someone suffers financially or economically, it worsens all other things. So this economic peace building initiative is very important. So that's all from me. Any question is welcomed, and thank you for your patience. And I hope that I was audible throughout my presentation.
Thank you, Hafsa. Very good. So I was thinking for the next example, we'll do a video again. It's from the Aleveti community in Australia, and we noticed Hidayat is also with us. So if somebody has questions, we can do that during the discussion, and Hidayat can give the answers. I'll share my screen. Is it visible?
On this day of International World Peace, on behalf of under the young generation, we call all to end racism and build peace. No matter which race, belief, age, gender, or sexual orientation, we call all to be involved. To build peace through respectful dialogue. To hear all voices without judgment on discrimination, and create a safe space where one can feel seen, understood, express their needs and healed. Building bridges through communication is essential. We must educate one another in the consequences and impacts that can be caused. Hoping for all to grow love and compassion towards self and one another, we hope to work together and unite.
Pim, you're muted. We cannot hear anything.
Savaşların, sömürünün olmadığı, hiçbir çocuğun yatağa aç girmediği bir dünyada yaşamak dileğimizle. Dünya Barış Günümüz kutlu olsun. Değerli canlar, bizler zalimin zulmüne boyun eğmeden dostlarımızla, sevenlerimizle barıştan yana, kardeşlikten yana, beraberlikten yana olan tüm canlarla yolumuza devam edeceğiz. Canlar, bizler dost biriktiririz. Para, pul, mal, mülk değil. Görmeden sevmenin adıdır aşk. Makamımız aşk. Üslubumuz barıştır bizim. Dini, dili, rengi, ırkı ne olursa olsun iyiler iyidir. Aşk ile değerli canlar. Aşk ile.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you for that. Adam, it's your turn. So the last example, this is Adam from Uganda. But it seems you are gone now, Adam. What's going on?
He's
Can you
there.
go back? Yes.
I'm here, so just let me to share. Okay, it's not here. Okay, it's PowerPoint. Okay.
Is it going?
I find difficulties to share it. Can you share it from your side?
Yeah,
If that
I can.
Okay. Share send. Okay, thank you.
You go ahead.
Now, hello everybody. Thank you very much, Pim and Saskia, for giving this opportunity in this very good and nice and useful occasion of peace. My name is Adam Al-Haj. I focus on building livelihood strategies for refugees in hosting countries like Egypt, Sudan, and Uganda. Today I'm going to tell you about a community garden project that myself and other partners created for refugees mothers to practice not only farming but also peace. But before that, I'm going to tell you about those refugees and very short timelines about their lives and their story. And you know, South Sudan is a youngest country in the world with a very long run of conflict and civil war. And people of South Sudan are struggling for a long time as well. And in general, when refugees crossing borders, they experience a lot of hardship, and their life shortly divided into 3 stages. Stage 1, before leaving their countries, and then stage 2 during the living itself, and finally the current situation. So they're looking, of course, for better life, and that's why they're crossing borders, and for safety as well, and to build up and restore some peace. So before leaving their countries, refugees in South Sudan, or people in South Sudan, because South Sudan also is the youngest country, they have been facing a lot of hardship and very limited opportunities in terms of livelihood, in terms of other life meaning, in terms of education, in terms of clean water, in terms of security. So that's what they have been facing. And on the other hand, there is a live conflict. It is a conflict, multi-sided conflict in South Sudan between the central government and some rebels group, where these civilians are captured in between. So they experience a lot of war, bombing, torture, insecurity, and they are losing some family members. And of course, they are losing also the familiar environmental and meaningful context. So when those people decided to leave that conflict, and they're going through also another experience, and I call it here during the living. And during the living, most of the women facing another burden, like also another experience like rape and also torture. When they're crossing borders to Uganda, let's say in this case, so they have to find another housing. They have to settle down, and of course they have to deal with a new culture for them, new language. they have to deal with organizations, aid organizations. They have to deal with the local. And of course, also there's a discrimination, and that's well known when refugees coming to the new country or a new place, the local think that they're going to compete them, they're going to take their jobs, and that's also another challenge they have to deal with. So that's the current situation in Uganda. I would say building peace for them is have to restore the inner peace. They have to settle down. They have to restore their mental and spiritual health, and they have to deal with the nature, because they need to cook, and of course there is no any gas, or there is no any electricity. They have to cut wood and cooking. They have to deal also friendly with the nature, and on top of that they have to deal with people, because they are coming from different communities, that they have different community backgrounds, and they have new people around. They have to deal with them. They have to find a common ground so that they can live together. Next slide, please. So for us, we provided a women's garden, but generally, because farming is also can be a mean of peace, because agriculture raise income and provide employment, and that employment lead to generate income. And when people have their own income, also they become less frustrated. So that is the ultimate goal. And here in this garden is a living platform, the land given by the government. We ask the government to give us a land to make it available for those women to practice farming, in order also to have some food. That is number one. Goal number two, also to increase the environment awareness, as I have just mentioned. So please be friendly to the nature. You are dealing with plants, you are dealing with trees. So we need to find a balance so that we can make, when the women need cooking, they can use, for example, sustainable stoves, cooking stoves, and also can use the waste, the agricultural waste, instead of cutting trees. And as well as we are helping them think differently in terms of agriculture. So we provided carbon farming, where those women can also make their own compost, instead of using fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, so that we can save the biodiversity. It's also peace elements of nature. And finally, we also, by working by those women, by providing this platform, this garden, enable them to work together, to help each other, to talk to each other, to spend time with each other. We discovered that this brings something to them. And recently, we just have known that they also started to sell their products and to gain some money, and they become very happy. And when they become very happy, they become confident, and they have, of course, something to share with their families. They have some stability, and this goes also to the family members, as I have said also in the promo. And then from the family members is going to the neighbors, and those women you see here from very different ethnic groups. And in the original country, they're in conflict, but now they're in peace because they're working together, they're trading together, they're making money together. So we discovered that when that happened, that brings peace. Self-confidence brings peace. generating income bring peace. Working together from different, recognize the differences, and recognize the meaning of having different people, the diversity also brings some peace. That was what we have discovered by this example. Next slide, please. So this is what we have done, like in just 4 steps. You see here on the top left, this is the training that we have provided to the women in practical training in how best to do farming. And the second, the next one on top right is a reflection time. Women are reflecting on what they have learned. And then the other one is people on like down there on left. Women are practicing what they have learned. They just applied. And also we are providing food. If you see a nice delicious food is fish, and that we call it posho. It's a maize porridge. So during the working day, we also provide food for those women, and all this done because of Dutch individuals. We raised fund in the beginning here. Most of you contributed to that. Thank you for that. And also the original idea of this garden is coming from Pim. Thank you also for that. So yeah, much of Dutch people, individual who contributed to set up this garden. We are very proud of that. And yeah, this is now has some results. Next slide, please, Pim. Yeah, this is a compost making, let's say, workshop. So people used to use a lot of chemical fertilizers in order to tackle diseases and insects and other agricultural issues, but we have provided new means. So instead of just using chemicals fertilizing, you can use compost, and you can, by the compost, you give the plant a very strong ingredients of nutrients, and the plant themselves can also fight the diseases and the insects and some other issues. So this is a new approach that also eco-friendly approach of farming. Next slide, please. And this is the winning moment. This is the result of the efforts. Now those are the women, you have seen them in the beginning. Without land, without money, without just relying on the let's say the aid, the World Food Programs providing them with aid and with food. But now they are very happy. They have their own product they can sell. Now we divide them in 4 groups. Each group now they have like $50 in their saving pocket, and they're very happy. If you come to Uganda, you visit them in Kriandong Women's Garden, and you will be satisfied by what they have. Next slide. That will be my last slide. This is a team that functioning this garden. We do have Monica, Tracy, Gatwal, and myself. Thank you very much for being a very nice audience.
Thank you, Adam. Very good. See how much has been done in 6 months. It's very good. It's hopeful development. So
yeah, it's also great to see it, because we saw the beginning in our training and the fundraising, and now the feedback of what's happening. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, I think
is it okay that we skip the exercise and that we go to the discussion as a final step?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
It's can publish it on the website, so people can enjoy it later. You want to take the lead on the discussion and wrap up after that,
Yeah.
Saskia? So
Yes.
I'll take over back to you.
Yes, okay. I think you had a question to guide the discussion, if I remember well, in the program. If you just can read it out loud.
So how we shall stimulate peace development in our local communities while this world the polarization is escalating.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a very relevant question. So this is, I would just like to open the floor to whomever wants to say something or to add to this discussion. So how can we stimulate peace development in a world which is polarizing more and more? And yeah, who wants to say something about it? Maybe you, Hidayat.
Maybe I'll read another poem.
Yeah,
Sure, why not?
Yes. Hey, you unaware. Don't search on the mountains or on the plains. Heaven and hell are within you, within you. Duality won't bring you anything. Angel and devil are within you, within you. Some are proud of having the knowledge. Some are very sorry not to have the knowledge. In fact, they're either side of the coin. Illiterate and scholar are within you, within you. The ones who are competing to own more are exploiting each bit of the world. There is no peace even in their sleeps. Rich and poor are within you, within you. Some are eager to have power, not knowing that powerlessness embedded within power. They spend their whole life for nothing. Lion and gazelle are within you, within you. Don't oppress the oppressed people, you'll be cursed. You think more oppressive one is the Lord of the world. Isn't that enough to share this crime? All nations are within you, within you. Some are looking for infinite beauty. They always want to be seen as 18 years old. Their whole world is their body and their face. Beauty and ugliness are within you, within you. Men and women are equal in a friendly environment. Whatever created are in its right place. Lacking and difference are in your mind, in your ideas. Rain and soil are within you, within you. Those thoughts have been thought us for centuries. We never question whether they are right or wrong. I wonder why we think we live free. Master and slave are within you, within you. I, Hidayat, say, let's overcome these opposites. I never listen people lacking of mind, lacking of heart. The idols of New World Order collapse in this way. Infinity and nothingness are within you, within you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
What a beautiful poem.
Thank you.
I think we should really share it with our audience. If we may, Hidayat, wonderful audience, wonderful poem.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the answers lie within us. The opposites, the dilemmas,
Yes.
the contradictions, it all starts with us.
Yeah. And also knowing your own shadow side, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
But it helps if you have people around you that can sort of remind you of that. And
Say it again.
It really is helpful if you have people around you that can remind you.
Yes.
On these
Yes.
things, right? Because
yes,
I can be let's say I have to let somebody in. Be depressed or depressed, but let's say a bit negative because of all the things that are happening in the world, and sometimes that also creeps closer, and then I can get in a really bad place. But if you then meet friends or family and can talk about it, and then they say, oh, but yes, but there's also this and that. So it's there, you know, that helps to bring back the balance in life. And that's in a very easy way, simple way, also what you have to do as peace builder, as Saskia said in the beginning, is also to gather people around you that can work together on this peaceful development. And that's not like you have to set up a political party or you have to do this or that. There are many ways. You see that in the examples. There are many ways to influence people and gather them and to improve the peaceful environment. It could be in education or in work or in community work. But the trick is that we help each other to remind us that the possibilities are, for, let's say, simply said, for good and evil are in us.
Mhm.
So if we can bring out the best in ourselves, if we work together on that. Yeah. Very nice. Anything else?
Somebody else wants to say? Arshat, you joined us. Welcome, Arshat. So how can we contribute to peace development is the question in a world which is polarizing and where the divide in societies is only growing. It's not an easy question, nor are there easy answers, that's for sure.
No, but for me, what I just noticed by myself is this being together and having the conference like this and see your faces again and hearing you. That's really great, and that is yeah, it really touches my heart, because I know that all over the world there are people, we are connected with people as in our impact and peace leader community, and I know you go on with your work, and that's very important. We're not on our own. So many people, so many beautiful people with so many good ideas. So that's very, very helpful also for me for working in my own community.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, and hi everyone.
Hi. Yes.
I would also like to add something like how we can contribute in peace building. As everybody is mentioning that we all are the peace agent, yeah. So it as individual level, we are contributing in the peace building because we are working in our communities. We are working first to identify our strength and our power, how we can contribute in our society. If first we are peaceful and we have our inner peace of mind and heart, then we can contribute in our society. We are also done very too much trainings about this, like to make and to draw your tree of life. It's all about to find the solution and to identify how we can contribute in the peace building and to make a peaceful society and to contribute in this whole world. So as we all mentioned that peace begins with us, yeah. So we should all think about ourselves, and we should think that what have we our inside, what is our power and strength. So this is how we can contribute in the peace building, and it's not about this single day of peace. We should celebrate every day as a peace, and each and single day and a single moment for peace building, not only for this 21st of September. Yeah? We need really peace all over the world, because we all are suffering a lot with the conflict and war and different terror activities in the country and around and everywhere. So every day should be a peace day. Yeah. So this is my message, and like how we can contribute and the peace building. Thank you so much, and thank you, Saskia, Pim, Karen, and all the team members for organizing this such a wonderful event for peace building, where we all are together, we all are the peace agent, and we will go further and to contribute in the society and the peace building. So thank you so much for this event organizing.
Thank you, Nursia. And I think this is a good moment also to wrap up, also in view of the time, because we are also over our time. And just briefly to wrap up, I had the question that Harf posed. So it's not only about the cost of war, but who is going to build the humans after the war? So let's make that a legacy of the past. If we don't wage wars, we don't have to ask ourselves that question. And I think what's the importance of what Harf and also Hidayat brought in is the power of stories, the power of poems, the power of the narrative. And just to give you an example, one of the classics in literature is Lord of the Flies. I think whole generations have grown up with Lord of the Flies. And it tells the story of stranded young people, children on an island after their plane crashed, and what happened. And the story tells that basically it was total chaos. These children, they created a society built on inequality, and they nearly killed all each other, and it was utter chaos, destruction, and havoc. And there is a scholar who was really interested in proving, is this really what happened? You know, because he suggested it as a real story. And this is, as I said, it's given at schools. And he found, I don't remember where, somewhere in the Pacific, a real story, not a story in a book, of young children who crashed in a plane on an island, and what happened? They created a totally orderly society. They didn't fight. They didn't kill each other. They didn't destroy. This is the reality. And this is the reality that we must start believing in, that we can make the change and we can make peace happen if we stop sharing these stories and we stop sharing this narrative. And I want to really thank all the examples given, which are wonderful examples. And don't ever think that an action which it seems small only will have a small impact, because it's not true. It's the law of attraction. This is how living systems behave. It's the outliers which attract and cause change. So let us be the outliers. The change makers, the agents of change, the people that are different, the people that talk about a different story, because we will bring that law of attraction in motion, and we will create our teams merely by our acts, merely by our stories, merely by being the role models that the world needs. So let's take up upon ourselves that challenge to do that, because we can make a difference. So, and very important what Adam showed us, that it starts with self-confidence, with spiritual health, and creating perspective, because this is what you do when you create peace. You create perspective. War doesn't bring anything good, nothing at all, while peace does. It really creates a lot of good things. And so let's not, as Hafsa said, she's heard that it's a utopian dream she has. But as I said, if you can dream it, you can do it. So let's prove them wrong. All those people that say that we are dreamers. You need to dream it to make it happen. Because if you cannot dream it, you just stay merely stuck in the reality. And the reality is that they want us to make us believe that this is all there is to what we can achieve. We can achieve much more. We can rise above ourselves. We can achieve the unimaginable. Thank you for your participation. And let's roll our sleeves and let's make it happen.